I'm working in the New Perspectives Microsoft Access 2010 textbook. I'm in Tutorial 5, starting on page AC 221, and I'm going to do the first 3 queries in the textbook. We're going to start by using a pattern match in a query. Then we're going to do a list of values match in a query, and then use the not logical operator in a query. So let's start with using the pattern match. And I've been asked to create a query, so I'll click on Create. Query in Design View, and I'm going to be using just the customer table. So I'll bring it in, close. I'm going to close my property sheet, and I want to use all the fields. So I'll double click the title bar. That will select all the fields. I'll click drag and drop. That moves all the fields from the field list into the QBE grid. And next thing is, I'll run it to make sure that it looks right. I have 42 records in my query, and let's find out how many records I have in my table. I have 42. I've not added any criteria yet. It's just a double check for when you're first starting with queries. You want to check at regular intervals along the way to see if everything that you think should happen is happening. Let's go back to Design View. I'm going to save the query. I'm going to save the query as QRY 616 area code. And what I want to do is I want to find all those phone numbers that begin with the 616 area code. So I'm going to put in my criteria of 616, and I'm going to add a wildcard. So what's going to happen here is that the query should return to me every record where the phone number begins with 616 and ends with any other values. What I like to do here is press my down cursor arrow to move off the row to see what Access is going to do. You see that it recognized my entry. It put like in front of it and put the values in quotation marks. Let's run it to see if it works. I have 24 records. Let's move over and take a look at the phone number. Do they all begin with 616? They certainly do. And so this query is successful. I'll go ahead and save. And we'll go back and take one more look at it. Again, I put in 616 in the wildcard. 616 wildcard, and I cursor down off the row and let Access put the like in for me. By allowing Access to do that, what happens is that it lessens my chance of misspelling something. So go ahead and close this query. And we'll move on to the next one. We're going to use a list of values match in a query. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click my 616 area code, and I'm going to copy it, and I will just right-click in another portion, and I'm going to paste, and it's going to ask me for the name of it. And this is just a horrible long name. So for the sake of what we're doing here, I'm going to shortcut it. I'm going to say QRY Holland Rockford Saugatuck customers, HRS customers, just because that name is so long. And I'll go ahead and open up that query. And the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the criteria and run the query and see if I'm back at 42 records. I am. So I'll go ahead and save it, go back to Design View, and now we want to know all of those customers who are located in the cities of Holland, Rockford, and Saugatuck. I could certainly type in Holland or Rockford or Saugatuck. Or I could put Holland, Rockford, Saugatuck. I can do that. Or I can use the in operator just to simply make it a lot easier on myself. Because this is going to be hard to see, I'm going to right-click, open up the Zoom box, and type this information in the Zoom dialog box. First I'll increase my font so it's easier to see. And I'm going to type in Holland. I have to separate each value with a comma. Rockford and Saugatuck. And for those of you that are from Saugatuck, I apologize if I mispronounce it. I'll click OK, and now I'm going to As I entered it, you saw it capitalized in, and it put quotation marks around Holland, Rockford, and Saugatuck. Let's run it. I have 13 values, and there's Holland, Rockford, and Saugatuck. That matches with what we should have in our query on page AC225. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Although the book says not to save it, I'm going to save it because it's a test run. And now I'm going to go over to Backstage View, and I'm going to do a File, Save Object As, and I'm going to put in non. So I'm going to place non between QRY, non, and then I'll wipe out the copy of. Go home, and now I'm in the non. And to change this to not in, I add not in front of it. You see Access recognized it. If I didn't do it this way, I'd have to go not equal to Holland, or not equal to Saugatuck, or not equal to Rockford. You can't simply go not equal to Holland, Rockford, or Saugatuck. It doesn't work. I'd have to go not equal to Holland, not equal to Rockford, not equal to Saugatuck. So by having not in front of my in operator, it really saves a lot of time. Let's run it and see how this one works out. It shows 29 records. When I look at page AC226 in my textbook, step 5, it says I should have a total of 29 records. So far our queries are working. I'll say yes to save this. Although the book has told you to delete these queries or to simply not save them, I went ahead and saved them in case I want to come back and work with them at a later time.